A very good morning, children. This video contains all the important notes and question answers of the chapter Socialism and Russian Revolution, specifically after the October Revolution. So let us start what changes took place in Russia after October Revolution, and specifically here we will discuss about what did the Bolsheviks do after taking power in Russia. They began persecuting their opponents like the supporters of Tsar, the landowners, high-ranking military Orthodox church people. Then land was declared a social property. New uniforms were designed for the army. Specifically, a hat was introduced, that was the Soviet hat, Budonavka, and houses were partitioned according to the family requirements. The Bolshevik party was renamed as the Russian Communist Party in November 1917. In March 1918, Russia made peace with Germany, and Bolsheviks became the only party to participate in the elections to all the Russian Congress of Soviets. So these were the changes that took place in Russia after October Revolution. The next topic we are going to discuss about is the Civil War. When the Bolsheviks ordered land redistribution, the Russian army began to break up. The non-Bolsheviks, socialists, liberals and supporters of autocracy, they condemned the Bolshevik uprising. The non-Bolshevik, socialists, liberals and supporters of autocracy, they were uniting to fight against the Bolsheviks. So they formed the troops and they were known as Greens, and they had to fight against the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks were known as Red. The pro-Tsarists were known as Whites. They controlled most of the Russian Empire, and there was a war, and specifically the Bolsheviks won the war. The Bolsheviks won the war with the support of the non-Russian nationalists and Muslim jihadists, but later the most of the non-Russian nationalities were not given political autonomy, and the unpopular policies of the Bolsheviks, specifically the harsh discouragement of nomadism, it made the non-Russian nationalities against the Bolsheviks. It means attempt to win over different nationalities were partially successful only. The next topic we are going to discuss about is that how Russia became a socialist society. So they introduced a process of centralized planning. Then they made 5-year plans. The first 2 5-year plans focused on industrial development. Centralized planning led to economic growth. Industrial production increased specifically between 1929 and 1933 by 100%. And in which industries? In case of oil, coal and steel, new factory cities also came into being. Now, what steps were taken for improvement of the condition of the workers and condition of the people? An extended schooling system developed. Arrangements were made for factory workers and peasants to enter into universities. Creches were established in factories for the children of women workers. Cheap public health care was provided. Modern living quarters were made. But the effect of all this was uneven. That's why there were also examples that workers also had a very hard life, and even at 40 degree, minus 40 degree Celsius, people, means specifically the workers, had to climb down from the 4th floor and dash across the street in order to go to the toilet, and they had to live in harsh conditions. So that is also being given. The Russian government tried to improve the condition of workers, but it was partially successful. Some images are being given here, how the children were going to schools and how there were dining halls for the factory workers also. So this is how attempts were made to develop the condition of workers. The next topic we are going to discuss about is Stalin's collectivization of agriculture. By 1927 and 1928, the towns in Soviet Russia were facing an acute problem of grain supplies. So, Stalin's government conducted a survey and it found that the rich peasants, specifically the kulaks, rich peasants in Russia were known as kulaks, they were hoarding grains. So, in 1928, the party ordered for raiding the kulaks. And in 1929, the party forced all peasants to cultivate in collective farms, and the collective farms are known as kolkhozs. And the bulk of the land and implements were transferred to the ownership of collective farms. Peasants were very much enraged, so they destroyed their livestock, and those who protested, they were deported and exiled. In spite of collectivization, production did not increase immediately in Russia. The last topic we are going to discuss about is the global influence of the Russian Revolution. So this topic we will discuss under two headings. First, we will discuss how it had a global impact all over the world, and next we will discuss what was its impact in Russia itself. So there were possibilities of a worker state that fired people's imagination all over the world. In many countries, communist parties were formed. Example was the Communist Party of Great Britain. Then many non-Russian from outside USSR participated in the Conference of People of the East, and the Bolsheviks founded Comintern, which was an international union of pro-Bolshevik socialist parties. Then so communist universities provided education to the workers in the communist ideology. So universities were also set up to preach communist ideology. And by Second World War, USSR had given socialism a global face. Now let us discuss that what was the change that Russia witnessed in 1950s. By 1950s, it was acknowledged within the country that the style of government in USSR was not in keeping with the ideals of the Russian Revolution. जिस आइडियोलॉजी के साथ रशियन रेवोल्यूशन शुरू हुआ था, वर्कर्स को पूरा राइट देना है और their condition was to be improved, that was not seeming to be fruitful. A backward country had become a great power. Its industries and agriculture had developed. The poor were being fed, but it had denied the essential freedom to its citizens. And it had carried out developmental projects through repressive policies. By 20th century, specifically the end of 20th century, the reputation of USSR as a socialist country had declined. Because all of you know, the disintegration of USSR took place in 1991. But the socialist ideal still enjoyed respect among its people. So this is all about the Russian Revolution. So do note down the important points in your copy. Thank you and have a nice day.